Outline the ever-increasing challenges faced by domestic workers in the Gambia and other African countries. In an interview with Africa TV, Bori Tonkara also highlights the association's aims and objectives. Now, the association, she said, is founded in 10 African countries, including the Gambia, which of course geared towards enhancing the value of domestic work by promoting and protecting domestic workers' rights and improved their work conditions. Let's have more details of that in this report again by Mama Dipano.
Domestic work continues to significantly contribute to employment in most developing countries. Over 75.6 million people are domestic workers worldwide, 3/4 of whom are women. Despite providing such essential services, domestic workers, however, rarely have access to rights and protection. According to reports, around 81% of domestic workers are in informal sector. That's twice the share of informal employment among other employees, with most of them also facing some of the most strenuous working conditions. They are also vulnerable to violence and harassment and restrictions of freedom of movement. Informal domestic workers are also particularly vulnerable to working conditions, employment among other employees, with most of them also facing some of the most strenuous working conditions. They are also vulnerable to violence and harassment and restrictions of freedom of movement. Informal domestic workers are also particularly vulnerable. It is against this backdrop that the ADAD Association is dedicated in protection, fair treatment of domestic workers who often face challenges and vulnerabilities in the workplaces. Bori Tunkara, president of ADAD Gambia, gives a brief insight about the purpose of establishing the association, while outlining the challenges faced by domestic workers in the Gambia.
Establishing this association is to advocate for the social protection of domestic workers, but most especially to advocate for their defense and the rights of domestic workers. And we also have so many things, so many activities to do in advocating for the rights of domestic workers, like trainings, creating awareness, advocating for the domestic workers. And most of the time we see that domestic workers are characterized by low wages, long working hours, little or even no legal protection. And this is something that we have to put a stop to, because domestic workers are vulnerable and they are marginalized in our communities, and they face a lot of violence, a lot of discrimination, racism, inequality in the society. So looking at the dedication of ADAD in advocating for the rights of domestic workers, we believe we can make a change in our society, most especially at least people to aware that domestic workers also have rights, and they are supposed to be respected and work in a very dignified situation.
Speaking on the association's efforts to remedy the domestic workers' constraint, Madam Tunkara said they engage in advocacy programs to raise awareness to the workers and to ensure that their rights are protected. She, however, lamented on the lack of financial and technical support.
One of the challenges we face, I can say it is both financial and technical support, because we need that in order to reach out to many people as possible, especially to the old regions of the Gambia, whereas we can able to advocate for the rights of domestic workers, because domestic workers, I can say it, most of them are migrants, and these migrants come from other countries, and it's something that require a dialogue. That's something that require a very good sensitization program where we can able to reach out to these people to tell them that other has exist in order to fight for their rights, but most especially to see how best we can able to put a stop to all this violence that they are going through. One of the things that we do is advocate trainings and raise awareness, and one of them is to welcome the domestic workers, for them to open up, for them to share their experience with us. And we always stand by their side to make sure that their rights are protected. And if any domestic worker has a problem, the first thing that we do is we make sure that we carry out the things that are supposed to be done in order to seek justice for the domestic worker. And if we know that it is more than our level, whereas the case can be more of like to reach out to another sector, we then transfer it to our collaborators or our partners for them to take care of the case. But the fundamental thing is we make sure domestic workers get justice, if any case, especially when they're going through violence.
In Africa, many people still rely on domestic work for employment, making up 2.2% of the total workforce on the continent, with a predominant presence in the sub-Saharan region. Africa's domestic workforce is estimated around 9.6 million. Amid this situation, ADAD aims to create a conducive environment where domestic workers can access their rights, social protection, and work in dignified conditions where they will have a valid and stable employment later and be free from all kinds of violence, discrimination, inequality, and social justice.